is a typical day here at NOAA for you?
Typical day here at NOAA, especially at the Satellite Operations Facility, starts with a meeting to go over what happened the day before. So we go over what happened with different satellites and how they're operating, if there's any problems that are occurring, who should go ahead and tackle those problems, and then also any future scheduled activities that we have. So that usually takes up the first morning, and then from there we do different activities to do support with our satellites, whether it's talking with the different staff about current issues and other things that we need to tackle throughout the day, because everything is changing. Sometimes we have critical weather that goes on, which means we have to make sure we freeze all activity and just support those activities supporting critical weather, whether it's a hurricane going on, a big winter storm, or a tornado outbreak as well. So we do a lot of those activities as well, and we focus that activity to support all the different weather missions and other environmental monitoring missions. So that's our typical day.
Is the only way you test, well, you get data from hurricanes, is the satellites? Have you ever flown into one?
That is a very good question, and actually it's not the only way we get data for observing like a hurricane. Satellites are the best way to do it because they can continuously monitor hurricanes, and actually we do have aircraft that fly into hurricanes. They're called hurricane hunters. There's actually 2 units that do that. In Tampa Bay we actually have a NOAA unit that are hurricane hunters, and they fly specially outfitted P-3 aircraft into hurricanes. And then there's actually an Air Force Reserve unit in Biloxi, Mississippi, and they fly specially built C-130 aircraft, and they fly those aircraft into hurricanes as well to take measurements of the hurricane and sample it and provide that information in real time back to hurricane forecasters and to others to monitor it. And actually, yes, I've actually flown into hurricanes before. It was back in the late 1990s. It was during Hurricane George, and it was part of a NASA mission where we flew an aircraft several times with advanced instruments through the hurricane. And I can tell you it was one heck of a bumpy ride, and I actually tightened my seatbelt up, and it was like, oh my goodness. And then because the turbulence is so bad in hurricanes, there's been stories of going through hurricanes where it's not as turbulent, and other times it's been extremely turbulent where people have to basically make sure they're fastened in pretty well. Otherwise they'll hit the roof on top of the ceiling of the aircraft as they're bolted from all the turbulence. So it's quite interesting. I probably don't want to do it again because it is quite a rough ride often. But nowadays with unmanned vehicles, it's going to become a lot safer in the future, where we can just fly those unmanned vehicles through hurricanes or other severe weather to get those measurements inside and determine, okay, what is this hurricane or what is this other severe storm doing? So it's a very interesting experience, but I'm going to leave that to the professionals to do that day in and day out, because they're much better at it than I am.
Well, have you flown into the eye of a hurricane? If you have, what was it like?
Actually, when I flew into the eye of a hurricane, we would go through the eye wall of the hurricane where the worst turbulence is. And then once you penetrate out, it's fairly smooth air, because the eye of the hurricane has air that subsides and it's much calmer. And then usually you don't have very much time, because usually the eyes of the hurricane tend to be varying sizes. Sometimes they can be 5 miles in diameter or up to 20, 25 miles in diameter. And then as soon as you penetrate out, it's nice and clear within the eye of the hurricane. And then next thing you know is you're going to hit the other eye wall where the worst weather is. So you go from really turbulent to smoother, and then all of a sudden really turbulent again as you hit the eye wall of the hurricane. So it's really quick as you go through the eye.